In 1956, there were 3 TV networks. That's it. And the American Heart Association broadcast over all 3 on every TV screen in the country a new diet called the Prudent Diet. The panel said heart disease was out of control, and this diet would save lives. Corn oil, margarine, cold cereal. These were supposed to replace the foods our grandparents thrived on: butter, beef tallow, lard, beef, and eggs. But one panel member, Dr. Dudley White, said, hold on. Heart attacks were non-existent in 1900 when egg consumption was 3 times what it is in 1956. See here, he said. I started my cardiology practice in 1921 and didn't see a single heart attack patient until 1928. The fats were butter and lard back then, and no one had ever heard of corn oil. Dr. White knew something was off, but he was outnumbered. The leading voice that everyone chose to follow belonged to Ancel Keys. And his hypothesis was saturated fat from animals increased LDL cholesterol, which increased risk of coronary heart disease and death. And he based this on what he called his 7 countries study. Years later, it was discovered that his study started out with 20 countries, actually, but Keys excluded those countries whose data didn't fit his hypothesis. So fast forward to 1957, Dr. Norman Jolliffe thought he had the answer: a diet of corn oil, margarine, and cold cereal. He formed the Anti-Coronary Club to prove it would save lives. But in 1966, the results were published, and they weren't what anyone expected. The Prudent Diet group had lower cholesterol, sure, but here's the kicker. 8 people on that diet died of heart disease. And the control group, the ones eating meat 3 times a day, not a single death. So what happened? The science was clear. The message was buried. Dr. Jolliffe himself passed away in 1961, not from heart disease, but from a clot, nonetheless, while following the very diet he promoted. And his obituary said he died of complications of diabetes. The takeaway: don't let history repeat itself. Real, whole foods, like butter, eggs, and meat, are not the enemy. It's time to rethink what we've been told about fats and heart health. Trust your instincts and look to the wisdom of the past, because sometimes the best way forward is to go back.